did my best, but I guess my best wasn't good enough. Looked good enough. So my first Hollywood handprint coverage here today is for Quincy Jones. He's gonna put his hands in there just once. So, exciting. It's cool. I mean, we all love Quincy's music, right? He don't sing, but Just Once is like the most quoted song in Philippine history. It's almost like a sports tradition. The losing team always has to say it verbatim. And of course, if you love Michael Jackson, he produced Thriller and a lot of the other albums, so handprint time.
Ladies and gentlemen, today it is my honor to celebrate one of my mentors, my brother from the Midwest, yes sir, East Side that is, the greatest producer of all time. Some of you may know him as the Dude. Me and my homies affectionately call him Q. The entire world knows him by his name. I'm speaking of the one and only Quincy Jones. Recently, I was in Hollywood, California to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And it was real special for me and my family and my mentors and all the people that I came up with. But the icing on the cake was having Quincy Jones there. I mean, I was so happy to have Q join me for the moment, especially since my man doesn't really like to get up early like he said. This is the time he usually goes to bed. So for Q to get up and to give me some encouraging words, that meant the world to me. Not even trying to read this paper, but speaking from my heart, Quincy has been like a real friend to me ever since I've been in the industry, as far as opening his doors to his home and letting me and my homies come through, and also giving us information and wisdom on how to live and how to better ourselves and how to use our voice as a platform to be more positive. When we first started rapping, our music wasn't so positive and we wasn't so positive as people, but Q seen something in us that made us shape our lives as he shaped his life. So what I want to say to you, Q, is I want to thank you for being a role model, an inspiration, being a great father, being a great producer, a great mentor, an uncle, and just being a great friend to us in hip-hop, because we needed somebody like you. We never had a voice in hip-hop to be our voice. We never had a hip-hop president or a hip-hop leader, but we always looked to you as that person. So for you to get this honor today and for me to be up here speaking for you, I'm truly honored. I got my Stacey Adams on, representing for the old school. I'm suited and booted, gooted and looted, dipped and whipped, sprayed and laid, pimp kid. You already know what it is, Q. This is what we do. So for me and my family, I just want to thank you for always being there for me, always being a big brother, and always just being the love that we need in the hip hop. Wouldn't be no Snoop Dogg if it wasn't for Quincy Jones. We thank you for being you. Appreciate you.
You know, there is a kindred spirit amongst all of us as entertainers, but the one thing that I have to say that I want to share about Quincy Jones is that, you know, when you think of his name immediately you think of him as a musician, you think of him as a producer, you think of him as a humanitarian, you know, an entrepreneur, a history maker, obviously, and a legend of legend. But Snoop is right, man. What he is a mentor. And what he's meant to me, outside of being an amazing mentor, is also to a father figure. A big brother when I needed, a shoulder to cry on when nobody would understand, an open door when you needed a path in the right direction. And it might not necessarily have always been what you wanted to hear, because Q would tell you how it is. He would say, you need to get that shit together. You know, but the reality is, it takes that type of rearing, it takes that type of care and appreciation for the craft and all of the people who can actually pave the way. And I thank you for being that to me and to so many others who would love to be up here, and I feel like I represent in recognizing you today. You're a teacher, man. You're a truth seeker, you know, and I remember when I thought I had made it, right? I had #1 records, and then I came to your house and I was like, I got a lot of work to do. But you've always been one that reminded me that family was more important than anything. Every time I see you, the first thing you always ask me is, how your mama? And you don't know whether Quincy asked me, because you know Quincy, he a lover, you know what I'm saying? And they all love him. And she asked about you too. But you always make it clear that family is important, because that's the love source that continues to feed the idea. Not all of the things that come with it. I mean, we can sell records, we can have cars, we can, have incredible Norman Checo jackets, you know what I'm saying, and all that cool stuff. But the reality is, the thing that matters is the passion and the love and the commitment and the compassion for others that you always convey through all that you've done. It's been like a constant seek for humanity, to tear down barriers where there's been so many people who've said, you know what, we're gonna put you in this box. You are this, you are that, you are R&B, you are pop, you are rock. You tore all that shit down and said, no, there ain't no barriers. We blur the lines, because there is no way to have love just one way. We gotta all respect each other. We gotta all live together. We gotta all grow together. And I thank you, because I wouldn't be the philanthropist that I am today. I wouldn't be the humanitarian that I am today if you didn't make me understand that there's so much more important than what you're doing in music, son. You gotta give back. You gotta make sure that you continue to supply the resource, the love, the passion, empathy for those people who may not necessarily have the voice to raise it. So thank you, Q, man. Thank you. I was trying to figure out, because I wrote a couple of things down too, but I ended up just talking to you, because I think that it always turns into an informal conversation. We just kind of go off the cuff. I done had some of the craziest conversations at 3 o'clock in the morning with Quincy. He be in the club longer than I'm there. I'm like, where you going? You leaving? He's like, yeah, I'm going to the next party. What you doing? But one thing that I would say is amazing about you is that you'll more than likely be one of the first to arrive, but also to always the last to leave. And those relationships matter more than anything. Once again, family. Like, your relationship with Ray. That right there reminds us that you can love this and still have your homies, your team. When I look down here and I see Snoop and I see Dre in the same line, I'm like, that's what it's about right there. That magic, continuing to keep that together, because that is why we do it. We don't just do it to celebrate, we do it to celebrate it with our family. Thank you, Q, man. When I think of quotes, right? I was trying to figure out something that I could say. This quote from Fred Astaire came to mind. He said something like, if you do it big, do it right and do it with style. But the one thing that I hope that I'll be able to add as a result of having spent this lifetime with you is I'm going to add one thing to that. Do everything in your life with love. Because that's what you've been. I love you, I appreciate you, and I'm going to continue to lift you up forever, brother. We celebrate you today, and this is an amazing moment for all of us. I love you, Quincy.
Okay, yes, I'm too short. All those tall men before me. Okay. We are here today to celebrate a true force of nature. A man who has put his unique stamp on every decade of culture as we've known it for the past 70 years. A man who is an arranger, composer, producer, and visionary, has recorded over 2,900 songs, 300 albums, composed 51 film and television scores, and made 1,000 original compositions. He's had a career-defining collaborations with Michael Jackson, Frank Sinatra, Oprah Winfrey, Will Smith, and the list goes on and on and on. And then there's all the people he inspires. He's been nominated for 79 Grammys and won 27. He is one of, I think, 20 EGOT winners in the world. That's the holy quadrant of awards, for anybody who doesn't know, the Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. And oh yeah, he also produced the biggest selling album of all time and the biggest selling single of all time, so no big deal. You might wonder, like me, how his hands and feet haven't already been immortalized in cement here in front of the Chinese Theater. I wonder that, but we're here now, right? The truth is, we can never honor the wonderful, unparalleled, indelible career of Quincy Jones enough. And since he has had his hand and foot in everything you've ever loved, this seems like the most literal, best way to celebrate him. We don't really have time to go through all the reasons that Quincy has impacted the course of music and pop culture and your life, because trust me, we just don't have enough time. But if you want to know more, shameless plug, see Quincy on Netflix. Directed by me and Al Hicks. Had to do it. But it really does tell you the full story. When my dad first saw this documentary about his life, the first thing he said was, "I wish I could live forever." And knowing that he's been the first through so many doors and a barrier breaker his entire life, he probably will live forever. And as he says himself, you live 26,000 days, and I'm gonna wear them all out. So without further ado, the man who has worn it all out and continues to wear it all out, please welcome the man, the legend, and my father, Quincy Jones.
I guess all the daddies should have done the same thing. Don, you have nicknames for all your kids? Rashida was my donkey baby. And over there, my young one, Popsicle, Kenya. Anyway, I can't believe all my friends get up this early. This is when I go to bed. Lord, thank you so much, man. I know you people are busy, but it means a lot to me that you're here for me. This is very, very, very special. I had a friend of mine that was friends with one of the daughters of the Pantages. They live up in Vancouver. Anyway, I can't remember the name now. It'll come back. Good morning, each and every one of you. And thank you for such a warm welcome. I am honored to be with you today, to have my hand and as my shoes all up for this legendary list of icons enshrined here in front of Hollywood's famed Chinese Theater. As a teenager growing up in Seattle 15 years ago, I used to sit in the city. We used to go down to Skid Row, play hooky from school, go to Skid Row, and pay 11 cents to see all the movies. And I was so addicted at 15 years old, I can't tell you. And I realized the effect that Alfred Newman had on 20th Century Fox and Victor Young and Paramount, guys who were my mentors back then. And as a teenager growing up in Seattle, I used to sit in the theater and think about composing films for the music for these films. And I was absolutely addicted. I could never have imagined that those dreams would lead me to here, to this moment. And to be honest, it is a little bit overwhelming. Sidney Lumet, who hired me to do my first American film score in The Pawnbroker in 1963, used to say that composers are more violated than writers. But film composing was the best arena to test your skill as a musician and would give me a foundation for eventually segueing into producing films and television. I am beyond thankful to have had the opportunity to work on more than 35 film scores. When I started, no black composers on single screen credits, and two people helped me solve that. That was Sidney Poitier, gave me 6 films, and Sidney Lumet. And Sidney, I met him when he was flirting with Lena Horne's daughter, who he eventually married, and had Amy, and which had 2 beautiful daughters that lived around the corner from me. He hired me to do my first American film score, as I said before, in The Pawnbroker in '63. But film composing was the best arena to test your skills as a musician and give me a foundation for eventually segueing into producing films and television, as I said before. I'm beyond thankful to have had the opportunity to work on more than 35 film scores. I collaborated with some of the greatest filmmakers on the planet, from Sidney Lumet to Sidney Pollack to Richard Brooks and Norman Jewison and many others, and of course Steven Spielberg, who co-produced Color Purple with me. I'm told that I'm the first composer to have the honor of being enshrined here at the Chinese Theater. So as the first, I want to say that I shared this recognition with all my fellow composers and dear friends and colleagues, past and present, such as the great Henry Mancini, such as Benny Carter, Alfred Newman, Jerry Goldsmith, Lalo Schifrin, Johnny Williams, among many others like Merv Warren and Terrence Blanchard. And Bob Russell is my answer. She wrote lyrics for me and for The Love of Ivy. I look back at this, I can't believe it. All the great songwriters I collaborated with, such as Alan and Marilyn Bergman, and of course all the great musicians who contributed to these scores. There are only 12 notes. We've had them for 700 years, and between rhythm and melody, we have to figure, rhythm and harmony, we have to figure out how to make those things belong to us. And that's difficult after 700 years. I'm really proud of what we did with them, though. Did your best. And I want to thank my little brothers, big brothers, Snoop Dogg, Usher, Kareem, Brother Dre, Usher, and Patrick Young. This dude just brought the New York, the LA Times, man. And believe in it, he's Chinese from South Africa, from the apartheid period there. So he knows what fighting's about. I want to thank all of y'all for showing up this morning. I really do. It means so much to me, man. And of course, my little donkey Rashida, who I love to pieces, and little popsicle, and all my family and friends who accompanied me on this journey. But you guys are the future, and I love you so much, and I'm so humbled by this recognition. God bless you. Thank you. You know how to make them. Short, bald-headed, bow-legged, 85-year-old, grin like a fox eating sauerkraut. I love you.
Look this way.
Here he is, Quincy Jones. Only had to do it just once with the Thriller also.
Let me get behind him. Can you say that?
Guys, one more time, straight ahead, everybody. To your left, please.
Hopefully.